When people talk about Dolly Parton, they usually start with the sparkle, the wigs, the rhinestones, the laugh that seems to float above a room like sunshine. But behind all that shine was something quieter and steadier, a love story that lasted nearly 60 years. Carl Dean was never interested in fame. He didn't want red carpets or cameras or interviews. He wanted Dolly, just Dolly. And that simple, stubborn devotion became the anchor of her life. So when he passed away at 82, it wasn't just the loss of a husband. It was the loss of her safe place, her best friend, the one person who knew her before the world did. Growing up with nothing but dreams. Long before the stages and stadiums, Dolly's story began in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, in a tiny one-room cabin without electricity or running water. Poverty wasn't a concept, it was everyday life. Her father paid the doctor who delivered her with a sack of cornmeal. Yet when Dolly talks about those years, she doesn't talk about what they lacked. She talks about love, laughter, music drifting through the hills, and faith that carried them through hard days. Even as a child, she believed she was meant for something bigger, not because someone told her, but because she felt it deep in her bones. A voice that stopped a room. Her first stage was her grandfather's church. Barefoot, small enough to hide behind the pulpit, she sang with a voice that didn't match her size. People stopped whispering, heads turned. Even then, there was something unmistakable about her. Not polish, not training, just heart. Music wasn't something she practiced. It was something she lived. Those early church hymns shaped her more than any record deal ever could. They taught her that songs were meant to comfort people, to hold them when words failed. Meeting the quiet man who changed everything. In 1964, the day she moved to Nashville, Dolly met Carl Dean outside a laundromat. It sounds almost too ordinary for a woman who would become legendary, but maybe that's what made it perfect. He wasn't impressed by the idea of fame. He wasn't chasing anything, he just liked her. They married 2 years later in a small private ceremony, long before the world knew her name. While Dolly's life grew louder and brighter, Carl stayed steady and private. He ran his asphalt business, loved the farm, and avoided the spotlight like it was a chore. That difference, her sparkle and his stillness, somehow fit together beautifully. A marriage built on humor and independence. Their relationship wasn't dramatic or flashy, it was real. They teased each other, argued like any couple, and gave each other space. Dolly often joked that the secret to their long marriage was that they weren't together every second. She toured, he stayed home, and when she returned, it felt like coming back to center. He didn't see Dolly Parton, the icon. He saw the same mountain girl he met decades earlier. That kind of grounding love is rare, especially in show business, and she protected it fiercely. Carrying dreams that didn't come true. Dolly has always been open about wanting children. She imagined it, even picked out names, but life didn't unfold that way. Health challenges in her 30s changed that dream, and she had to grieve a future she once pictured clearly. Instead of letting that loss harden her, she poured that love outward, into her music, her charities, and especially her imagination library, which has given millions of books to children around the world. If she couldn't be a mother in the traditional sense, she found a way to nurture generations anyway. That's Dolly's way, turning heartbreak into something helpful. Strength behind the smile. People often mistake Dolly's sweetness for simplicity, but there's steel underneath. She built an empire in an industry that didn't always take women seriously. She wrote her own songs, negotiated her own deals, and quietly outsmarted anyone who underestimated her. She used kindness strategically, not as weakness, but as power. Doors open easier when you walk in with warmth. And Dolly walked through every one of them with a smile and a sharp mind. Losses that left their mark. Over the years, she said goodbye to people who shaped her life. Family members, mentors, loved ones who were there from the beginning. Each loss changed her a little. Grief has a way of doing that. But instead of retreating, she kept creating. For Dolly, work wasn't distraction, it was healing. Writing songs, stepping on stage, connecting with fans, those things helped her carry the weight. Music became both her refuge and her gift back to the world. Saying goodbye to Carl. When Carl's health declined, Dolly kept it private, just like she kept their whole life together private. She continued performing, smiling for crowds, showing up like she always had. But behind the scenes, she was walking through one of the hardest seasons of her life. After he passed, she didn't make a spectacle of her grief. She simply held it close. In interviews, she speaks of him gently, like he's still just in the next room. "I'll always miss him," she says, "and I'll always love him." It's not dramatic, it's honest, and somehow that's even more moving. The woman behind the glitter. What makes Dolly so beloved isn't just her talent. It's that she's never pretended to be perfect. She jokes about her wigs, her makeup, her over-the-top style. She calls herself cartoonish and laughs first, so no one else can laugh at her. But that self-awareness hides something deeper: courage. It takes bravery to be exactly who you are in a world that constantly tells you to tone it down. Dolly never toned anything down. She turned it up and made it work. Still showing up. Even now, after decades of fame and more success than most people could imagine, she keeps going. Writing, recording, planning, dreaming. Not because she has to, but because creating is who she is. Work keeps her connected to life. It gives her purpose. And maybe, in some quiet way, it keeps her close to Carl too, because he always believed in her, always cheered from the sidelines. A legacy bigger than music. Dolly Parton's life isn't just a story about celebrity. It's about resilience, about choosing kindness when bitterness would be easier, about loving deeply, even knowing loss will come someday, about staying soft in a world that tries to harden you. Her songs may have built her career, but her heart built her legacy. She's proof that you can be glamorous and grounded, strong and tender, funny and wise all at once. The light she carries. If there's one thing Dolly teaches us, it's this: pain doesn't have to dim your light. You can carry grief and still laugh. You can lose someone and still keep loving the world. You can start with nothing and still build something beautiful. Through every high and low, she's remained unmistakably herself. Warm, witty, generous, and hopeful. And maybe that's her greatest magic of all. Not the voice, not the fame, but the way she keeps shining, no matter what life brings.